I'm recording this from a cabin in northern Idaho that doesn't appear on any maps. The hunting license I held 3 weeks ago has been permanently revoked. My rifle, a custom Winchester Model 70 that belonged to my grandfather, was confiscated and will never be returned to me. The 4 men I went hunting with have all signed legally binding non-disclosure agreements and refused to speak to me. And the federal agent who interviewed me for 6 hours made it very clear that what we found in those woods, what we documented, what we witnessed being done to that creature, can never be discussed publicly. I'm violating that order right now. Because what stalked our hunting party for 3 days wasn't trying to hunt us. It was trying to show us something. Something so horrific, so fundamentally wrong, that staying silent would make me complicit in a crime I can barely comprehend. Before I tell you what happened, you need to act immediately. Hit that like button right now. Subscribe to this channel this second. But most critically, download this entire video the moment it finishes playing. Save it to multiple devices. Upload it to different platforms. Email it to journalists. Send it to wildlife organizations. Make physical copies. Because what I'm about to share will be suppressed within hours of posting. My previous 2 upload attempts were taken down in less than 20 minutes. My YouTube account was suspended. My social media accounts were locked. Someone with significant resources is actively trying to prevent this testimony from spreading. Don't let them succeed. Make this impossible to erase. My name is David Chun. I'm 41 years old. I've been a hunting guide in Idaho, Montana, and Wyoming for 19 years. I come from 3 generations of hunters. My grandfather guided in these mountains in the 1950s. My father continued the tradition. And I grew up learning these forests the way other kids learn video games. I'm not anti-hunting. I believe in ethical, sustainable harvest. I believe in conservation through responsible management. I've dedicated my adult life to teaching people how to hunt respectfully, how to read the forest, how to take only what you need and honor what you take. 3 weeks ago, I guided what was supposed to be a routine elk hunting expedition. 5 of us total, me and 4 clients. Successful businessmen from Seattle, all experienced hunters, all physically capable, all willing to go deep into backcountry for a legitimate wilderness hunt. We weren't trophy hunters looking for wall mounts. These were men who wanted meat for their families, who respected the process, who understood hunting as something more than sport. We entered the Selway Bitterroot Wilderness on October 28th. Remote territory, minimal human presence. Exactly the kind of area where elk populations are healthy and managed through control hunting. I'd guided in this region for 15 years. Knew the terrain intimately. Had successful hunts here dozens of times. Nothing about this trip seemed unusual. The first day was normal. We hiked 12 miles to establish base camp in a valley I'd used before. Set up properly, food secured, waste managed, camp organized for minimal environmental impact. Standard protocol. That evening, we glassed nearby ridges, looking for elk sign, planning the next day's hunt. Everything was by the book. The second day, things started feeling wrong. We were tracking a bull elk, fresh sign, clear trail, perfect conditions. But as we moved through the forest, I kept getting that sensation of being watched. The hair on your neck feeling that every experienced outdoorsman recognizes. I stopped the group multiple times, scanned our surroundings, saw nothing. But the feeling persisted. Around noon, we found where our elk trail intersected with something else. Footprints. Large footprints. Not elk. Not bear. Not any animal I could immediately identify. They were roughly human-shaped, but massive. 18 inches long, 9 inches wide. 5 distinct toes. A clear arch. And they were fresh. Made within the last few hours, judging by the crispness of the impression in soft ground. My clients gathered around, studying the prints. "What made these?" asked Tom, the oldest of the 4, a man who'd hunted 5 continents and knew his wildlife. "I don't know," I admitted. Which was true. I'd seen prints like this before years ago, always dismissed them as deformed bear tracks or misidentifications. But these were too clear, too defined, too deliberate in their placement. "Could it be Bigfoot?" asked another client, Marcus, half joking. I didn't answer. Because yes, it could be. But saying that out loud meant inviting ridicule, meant damaging my reputation as a serious guide. So instead I said, let's keep moving. Stay alert. Whatever it is, it's large. Could be dangerous. We continued following the elk trail, but now I was tracking both. The elk ahead of us, and these mysterious footprints that seemed to be following the same path. Parallel tracking. And gradually, I realized something disturbing. The footprints weren't just following the elk trail randomly. They were stalking, moving strategically, using terrain for cover, maintaining distance. This was predatory behavior. Intelligent predatory behavior. By mid-afternoon, we'd lost the elk trail entirely. But the large footprints continued. And now, they were doing something different. They were circling, moving in patterns that suggested the tracker had become aware of us, was now studying us instead of the elk. We're being followed, I told my clients. Whatever made these tracks knows we're here and is watching us. The jokes stopped. These were experienced hunters. They understood what it meant when something in the forest started tracking you instead of running away. We moved into defensive formation, tight group, weapons ready, constant vigilance on all sides. The stalking continued for the rest of the day. We'd see fresh tracks crossing our path. We'd hear sounds in the forest, branches breaking, movement through brush, vocalizations that didn't match any cataloged animal. But we never saw what was making them. It stayed just out of sight, just beyond visual range, maintaining perfect concealment while making its presence known. By the time we made it back to camp that evening, we were rattled. Experienced hunters don't usually get spooked, but something about being tracked by an unknown entity for 6 hours had shaken all of us. We discussed breaking camp and hiking out. But that would mean a night hike through 12 miles of rough terrain with something potentially following us. We decided to fortify camp instead. Built up the fire. Established watch rotations. Kept rifles loaded and ready. The night was long. We heard it circling camp multiple times. Heard vocalizations that were clearly communication, multiple entities calling back and forth, coordinating. But they never approached directly. Just maintained a perimeter, watching, waiting. At dawn on day 3, we found something that changed everything. Our camp had been entered during the night, during the gap between watch rotations when we were all briefly asleep. Nothing was stolen or damaged. But something had been left, placed deliberately in the center of our camp, where we'd find it immediately. It was a stick figure, crudely made from branches, about 2 feet tall, unmistakably representing a human. And attached to it with grass cordage was something that made my blood run cold. A hunting tag. An official Idaho hunting tag. The kind issued by Fish and Game for controlled harvests. Except this tag was old, dated 2019, 5 years ago. And it had blood on it. Old blood, long dried, but unmistakable. What the hell is this? Tom asked, examining the construction. I stared at it, my mind trying to process the implications. It's a message. Someone, something, is telling us they know what hunting tags are, know what they're used for, and they're showing us one they found, probably on a kill site. You're saying Bigfoot made this? That's insane. I'm saying something intelligent enough to construct symbolic representations and associate them with human hunting is trying to communicate with us. And I think we need to listen. We spent the morning debating what to do. Half the group wanted to leave immediately. The other half, including me, felt we needed to understand what was being shown to us. Finally, we decided to follow the tracks again, to see where they led, to try to understand what message was being delivered. The tracks led us deeper into the wilderness, away from elk habitat, away from our planned hunting areas, into terrain that was rougher, more remote. We followed for 3 hours, the tracks getting fresher, until finally we reached a ravine I'd never explored before. And that's where we found it. What the stalking had been leading us to. What we were meant to see. I need you to stop here and comment. Tell me if you're ready to know what we found. Tell me if you want to see evidence of something so disturbing that federal agents threaten me with imprisonment to keep quiet. Because once I share this, Once you see what was in that ravine, you can't unsee it. It will change how you think about wilderness, about hunting, about what's being done in our national forests. So comment now. Are you ready? The ravine was hidden by dense undergrowth, accessible only by a narrow game trail. As we descended, I noticed immediately that something was wrong. The vegetation was trampled in patterns that suggested regular traffic. This area was being used frequently. At the bottom of the ravine was a clearing, maybe 40 feet across. And in that clearing were structures. Not natural formations. Structures. Made from logs and branches, but clearly constructed with purpose. Shelters. Storage areas. What looked like a processing station. And scattered throughout the clearing were remains. Animal remains. But not natural predation. These were organized. Systematic. The bones were sorted by type. The skulls were arranged separately. Hides were stretched on frames made from branches. This wasn't a kill site. This was a butchering operation. Jesus Christ, Marcus whispered. Are these from hunting kills? I moved closer, examining the remains. Elk, deer, at least 2 bare skulls, and all showing cut marks. Not from animal teeth or claws. From tools. From blades. Someone had been processing these animals with cutting implements. David, Tom called from the other side of the clearing. You need to see this. I joined him. He was standing in front of one of the structures, staring at something inside. When I looked, my stomach dropped. It was a cache, filled with human items. Dozens of them. Hunting tags like the one we'd found at camp. GPS devices. Knives. A rifle scope. Ammunition. Backpack straps. All arranged carefully, like artifacts in a collection. All clearly taken from hunters over years. They've been collecting from hunters, I said quietly. Taking items. Probably from kill sites. Studying what we use. Learning about us. But that wasn't the most disturbing part. In the back of the cache, carefully separated from the hunting items, were other objects. A child's toy. A wedding ring. A driver's license. Personal effects that wouldn't be carried by hunters. The driver's license belonged to Mark Westwood. I recognized the name immediately. He'd disappeared in this wilderness 3 years ago. Massive search operation. Never found. Officially listed as lost to exposure or animal predation. David, said the 4th client, James, who'd been exploring another section of the clearing. There's something else here. Something you need to see right now. We followed him to the edge of the clearing where it bordered the ravine wall. There, partially hidden by an overhang, was another structure, larger than the others, more sophisticated in construction. And from inside came sounds, movement, breathing. Something was being kept there, something alive. I approached slowly, rifle ready, not knowing what to expect. As I got closer, I could see that the structure was built like a cage. Logs lashed together with incredible strength, creating barriers that would be impossible for most animals to break through. And inside that cage, lying on a bed of pine needles, was a creature I recognized immediately. A Bigfoot, but not the one that had been stalking us. This one was smaller, possibly juvenile. And it was injured. Badly injured. One leg was bent at an unnatural angle, clearly broken. The fur was matted with dried blood. And around its neck was a cable snare, the kind used for large game, that had cut deep into the tissue. The creature looked at us with eyes that held clear intelligence and unmistakable fear. It made a sound. Not aggressive. Not threatening. Pleading. Begging. Oh my God, Tom said. Someone caught it. Someone's been keeping it here. Not someone, I said, my mind putting together the pieces. Something. The one that's been stalking us. It's been keeping this one here. But why? Why cage one of its own kind? That's when we heard the sound behind us. Deep vocalization. Angry. We turned to see the creature that had been stalking us standing at the entrance to the clearing. 8 feet tall, heavily built, covered in dark brown fur. And in its hands, actual hands with opposable thumbs that could manipulate objects, was a crude but effective spear. A sharpened branch, maybe 6 feet long, clearly designed as a weapon. We raised our rifles. The creature made a sound that was clearly a warning, but didn't attack, didn't advance. Just stood there, weapon ready, blocking our exit. "Don't shoot," I said. "Something's wrong here. This isn't just territorial aggression. It's defending something. Or maybe showing us something." The creature made another vocalization, more complex this time, and I realized it was gesturing, pointing at the caged juvenile, then pointing at the collection of hunting items, then making a throat-cutting gesture that was unmistakable in its meaning. "It's trying to tell us something," Marcus said, "about the juvenile, about hunters, about killing." I studied the scene again, the butchering station, the collected hunting items, the injured juvenile in the cage, and slowly, horribly, I understood. "It's not a butchering station for animal kills," I said. "It's a teaching station. It's showing the juvenile what humans do, how we hunt, how we kill, how we process. It's training it, preparing it for dealing with humans by showing it what we're capable of. But the juvenile is caged. Why cage it if you're trying to teach it? Because it's injured. That snare, that's a human trap. A hunter set that snare and caught this juvenile. And this adult found it, got it free, but the injury was too severe. So it brought it here, built a cage to keep it safe while it heals. And in the meantime, it's showing it human hunting methods, teaching it to fear us, teaching it how to recognize our tools, our weapons, our methods." The adult creature made another sound, softer this time, and I realized it wasn't threatening us. It was asking us to understand, asking us to see what had been done to the juvenile by human hunting methods. Tom lowered his rifle slowly. "You're saying this creature rescued one of its own from a human trap, is keeping it safe, is teaching it about human dangers, and it's been showing us this so we'd understand." "Yes. The stalking. The stick figure with the hunting tag, leading us here. It's all been communication. It's been trying to tell us that human hunting methods are catching things we're not targeting, that our snares and traps don't discriminate, that we're hurting species we don't even acknowledge exist." I approached the cage slowly. The juvenile watched me, fear obvious in its posture. I knelt down, examined the snare around its neck. Military-grade cable, the kind used by poachers for large game. Illegal in most areas, but still widely used. "This isn't from legal hunting," I said. "This is poaching equipment. Someone set an illegal snare in this area. The juvenile got caught. Would have died if this adult hadn't found it and gotten it free." The adult creature made another sound. This one carried something that sounded like grief, like anger, like a parent watching its child suffer from something it couldn't prevent. "What do we do?" James asked. "We can't just leave it like this." I looked at the cage, at the juvenile, at the adult standing guard. "We document everything. We photograph the snare. We record the GPS coordinates. And then we report this to authorities. Show them that poaching equipment is catching unintended targets, that there's something living in these woods that needs protection." "They'll never believe the Bigfoot part," Marcus said. "Then we don't lead with that. We lead with illegal poaching equipment. We lead with evidence that someone is running illegal trap lines in federal wilderness. The rest we document and preserve and let others decide what to believe." I pulled out my camera and started documenting everything. The cage, the injured juvenile, the collection of human items, the butchering teaching station, the adult watching us from the clearing entrance. Everything. The adult creature watched me film, but didn't interfere. Seemed to understand that I was recording, that I was preserving evidence. When I documented everything, it made one final vocalization. Then it moved aside, clearing our path out of the clearing. We left, hiked back to camp in silence, minds trying to process what we'd witnessed. That night, we discussed what to do. Agreed to report the poaching evidence, but keep the Bigfoot elements private until we understood the implications better. The next morning, we hiked out. Contacted Idaho Fish and Game. reported illegal trap lines at the GPS coordinates we documented. They sent officers to investigate. What happened next is why I'm in hiding. The officers found the ravine, found the clearing, found evidence of the structures and the cache of collected items. But the juvenile was gone. The cage was empty. The adult had moved it somewhere else after we left. And because there was no captured creature to corroborate our story, because the evidence could be interpreted multiple ways, the official investigation took a different direction. They decided the clearing was a poacher's camp, that someone had been running illegal trap lines, processing kills, and had fled when we reported the location. We were interviewed separately, asked to describe exactly what we'd seen. I told the truth, described the structures, the injured creature, the adult that had been showing us the site. The reaction was immediate and severe. I was accused of fabricating evidence, of making false reports, of wasting law enforcement resources with cryptozoology stories. My hunting guide license was suspended pending investigation. My rifle was confiscated as potential evidence in a case they were building about illegal hunting activity. Then the federal agents arrived. They interviewed me for 6 hours, showed me documents I wasn't allowed to photograph, told me that federal wilderness areas contained classified conservation programs I wasn't cleared to know about, made it very clear that continuing to discuss unrecognized species would result in charges of interfering with federal wildlife management operations. They produced a non-disclosure agreement, told me signing it was the only way to avoid prosecution, said that what we'd found in that ravine was part of a classified study program, and revealing details would violate national security protocols. I refused to sign. They arrested me on charges of making false statements to federal officers, held me for 72 hours before releasing me, with orders not to leave the state and not to discuss the case publicly. My 4 clients all signed their NDAs. All agreed to the official story that we'd found a poacher's camp and nothing more. All want nothing to do with me now because association with me threatens their ability to hunt legally. So I'm releasing everything. The photographs I took before they confiscated my camera, uploaded to cloud storage in real time. The GPS coordinates of the ravine, the documentation of what we found, the evidence that something intelligent lives in our wilderness and is being harmed by human hunting methods we refuse to regulate properly. What shocked me most wasn't finding Bigfoot. What shocked me was discovering that one of them had rescued an injured juvenile from a human trap and was teaching it about human dangers by showing it our hunting methods. That these creatures understand cause and effect, understand that humans use specific tools and techniques, are intelligent enough to educate their young about threats. And what horrified me was learning that federal agencies apparently know these creatures exist, are running classified conservation programs around them, and are willing to threaten, arrest, and silence anyone who discovers evidence of them. The stalking wasn't hunting behavior. It was teaching behavior. That creature spent 2 days showing us its tracking methods, letting us see how it moved, how it observed, how it stayed hidden. Then it led us to that ravine to show us the consequence of human hunting methods. An injured juvenile caught in illegal equipment. It was asking for help, asking us to regulate our hunting better, asking us to remove illegal trap lines that don't discriminate between target species and unintended catches, asking us to acknowledge that something lives in these forests that deserves protection even if we can't officially recognize it exists. Hit that like button one final time. Subscribe. Download this video immediately. Share the photographs I've embedded here. Verify the GPS coordinates if you can access the area. Make copies that can't be suppressed. Because what we found in those woods is evidence that our hunting methods are harming species we refuse to acknowledge, and federal agencies are more interested in maintaining secrecy than in protecting wildlife. My name is David Chun. My hunting guide license has been revoked. I'm facing potential federal charges. My reputation in the outdoor community is destroyed. And I'm releasing this testimony anyway because what stalked our hunting party wasn't trying to hurt us. It was trying to show us something we needed to see. Something is living in our wilderness. Something intelligent enough to rescue its injured young. Something capable of teaching and learning and communicating. Something that's being harmed by our refusal to acknowledge it exists. That's what we found in the woods. That's what shocked us. And that's what I'm sharing now, regardless of the consequences. Because some truths are worth the cost of telling them.